Everyone, welcome back to I think part two of our Path of the Rose discussion here with Jody Dean, myself, Michael Simons, and yeah, today we're really excited to get some transmissions from Luxor in Egypt, the motherland, and yeah, myself here in Sydney as well for now. Yeah, we will sort of flow a little bit, but we have some topics in mind that we think you'll find interesting. Um, so Jody, tell us how has it been since arriving there? What's the energy like? How have you felt it? Love to hear what you're feeling in that space.
Great question, Michael. Well, we literally arrived a week ago today, and today is the first real day, actually, this morning waking up where I feel like okay, solid, like grounded. And to be honest, the first 2.5, 3 days, we were just completely like blitzed, like whacked energetically. Like that was my out of my body kind of energy. Like
Wow.
just I didn't even know what was going on. It was like, well, part of it, of course, is yes, arriving in Egypt, and yes, we flew in from Europe, from Britain. So part of
Mm.
it is the culture shock, right? Of just yeah, totally different culture and just a lot of yeah, a bit of craziness, right? Egyptian craziness.
Totally.
Which can take you by surprise.
The Cairo
I
craziness.
have, yeah. Cairo craziness, Luxor craziness has a different edge, compared to the Red Sinai, Dahab craziness and the Cairo craziness. They've all got their specific qualities, but so apart from that, obvious cultural, economic difference with Britain, Europe, um, just like energetically. Oh my, just like what's going on? Like I'm all over the place. I'm whacked. First 2 or 3 days, and then it was okay. Like I see what's kind of going on here. I need to meditate. I need to do some fasting, and it was also the full moon as well. So
Oh wow.
I wasn't able to sleep on the full moon hardly at all. I got a couple of hours sleep. Um, really hit by it, and then just began to kind of ride the energy a bit more. And we only started going to temples on the third day. We just I think one temple visit on the third day we were here because the first 2 days we just needed to
Mm.
rest and relax.
Mm.
So it was a totally different kind of like experience, let's say, to someone just coming, this kind of package groups who just come here and they're immediately, visiting 5 temples the first day and 10 temples
Oh
the
God.
second day.
Yeah, done
Just like,
that. Not quite as intense, but
I can't
I know
even.
the vibe. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's been, and then so then for, and we actually had a guide. We just got ourselves a female tour guide. And I was starting, as we were being led through the temple, I was starting to like zone out because I was like, there's what the guide is telling me, and then there's like what my energy body is feeling, what my soul is telling me,
Mm.
what my eyes are seeing as well. Like, oh, this
Yeah,
was
right.
built, and I'm like, I don't think so. Definitely wasn't built by those people,
Yeah.
no. With copper tools. No, 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 no.
Mm.
Stuff like
Mm.
that. So it's kind of, interesting. And I'm like, okay, I don't think we want another guide. I don't think we want a guide again, like that kind of, tour guide, Egyptologist tour guide. So that was interesting initiation as well. Um, and yeah, and so yeah, I just want to also say that Luxor is was in by the Greeks was called Thebes. So if you've heard of
Ah,
Thebes, watchers,
I didn't
listeners,
realize that was
in
the common. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the thread.
in Greek plays or in Greek literature, ancient Greek literature, Thebes, yes, Thebes,
Got
that this is Luxor.
gotcha.
That's the Greek name. There was an ancient Egyptian name for Thebes as well, which we were told, but I can't recall it right now.
Mm,
Um, so that's another thing. And actually, in the book Anna, the grandmother of Jesus, Anna spends 100 years,
mm,
something like that, in Thebes, in the temples, being trained.
mm.
So I believe it's Thebes. It's definitely an ancient Egyptian
Yeah, right.
city. I believe it's Thebes. Um, so that gives some idea of, what was happening here in ancient times. Um, yeah, so that I felt to share that. And there are, apart from spiritual energies and incredible, and it's an incredible place. I mean, how it hit my energy body, my light body, whatever, how it activated, it's hard to put
Mm,
into words. Um, and for example, at Karnak, there was just one thing, just one detail in Karnak is just mind blowing, out of many, but just one thing that I particularly focused in on was this. I don't know if you've seen it, Michael, but this beetle, the granite beetle
oh
that
yeah,
is,
pretty
yeah,
sure. Yeah, it's
that
on
is
one of the
just,
altars or something.
yeah, it's on like a small altar pillar thing. And it's
Okay.
just this perfectly shaped, carved, whatever you want to call it, granite beetle that has, I mean, the surface is shining, baby's bottom smooth. I mean, it's
Obviously laser
like,
etched, you know.
yeah, right. I mean, there's
Yeah, wow.
you don't have that technology, 2000 whatever 2500 years ago when they say it was made.
Mm,
It's this granite, pretty much the hardest stone.
yeah,
um and you're telling me, just, and it's a beautiful, this beetle is just beautiful. It's like, oh my, and it's huge. It's
yeah,
like
right.
this kind of size. um there's things, elements like that, details like that, which are just mind-blowing if you have the context and you have the understanding about many, engineering, architecture, everything else, and you can put it together as well as, maybe Atlantis was Karnak, you know, like the one of the
Yeah.
central temple of the Atlantean colony of at that time of Kemet, which is the ancient name of Egypt. It's a question. It's an
Mm,
interesting question to have, right?
mm, mm.
How old are these? Particularly the granite, the diorite, and the quartzite um, stones, carvings. Whatever. Different. There are different. Things. So that's one aspect to all of this, which is absolutely fascinating because there you have it, like right there. It's just in front of you. Ancient Atlantis, is that what? Just there? But there's no placard telling you this is
Yeah,
from
exactly.
12,000 years ago or 7,000 years ago. It's no, this is this dynasty, this
Yeah.
pharaoh, big
Only
ego
3,000
pharaoh.
years old, like you said, with copper tools and yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
like, come on.
it's
I
it's
mean,
just it's comedy. It's
there's
comedy.
a lot of evidence to now suggest, I mean, according to whoever you want to, kind of what rabbit hole you want to go down, essentially that they liquefied the rock and were able to, using vibration essentially, and were able to
Yeah.
shape it in whichever they would want, I mean, that's the only way you're able to get those perfect seams is if you actually heat the rock up enough that it just melts into place essentially. But I mean, they did the same in Cusco and so on. So anyway, that's my own personal take on it. It's not, but there is quite a bit of science to back that up potentially as well. But no, I understand. I mean, I was there exactly a year and a month ago, almost to the day, actually. Actually, yeah, I think yeah, almost to the day. And uh, I was, it was very interesting because my physical body was going in certain directions when following people and voices. But I remember this sense that my energy body was also pulling me in certain directions that it wanted to go in. And it was like remembering, oh no, no, you go over here. Like, don't worry about that room. That's just nothing. Like, you need to go over here. So quite often when I wasn't with the group, I was just being guided, essentially, moving from room to room. And I remember feeling way more at home, so to speak, in Karnak, which, may not have the majesty, so to speak, in the Great Pyramid sense of like, wow. I mean, it's still very, very wow, but I definitely felt way more connected to Karnak. And I've had some conversations with people about this and so on. And yeah, I think it all leads back to Atlantis and all the rest of it, and that connection going back even further. I mean, not to mention the absolutely insane heart chakra explosion that I experienced in one of the tombs, actually, underground the Temple of Karnak. I mean, just absolutely wild. I had only just looked at and touched where that giant sort of carving of like the pillar of light thing. I forgot what the name of that thing is, but it's like that giant light bulb looking thing that's carved into the bottom of one of these stones. It's in every book, and it's just like, oh, this is ancient
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
technology.
I know the picture. Is
And
that
I
a
had I
Karnak?
had yeah, yeah, in this hidden underground chamber. And we kind of managed to get permission to go down there. And yeah, I sat with that stone and just took it in for like, I don't know, at least 15, 20 minutes. And then came back to kind of join the group closer to where the stairs down were and then leaned against the wall and was like having huge shocks of like Kundalini just zipping through my body like electrical shocks, and then all of a sudden, the pressure just built and it was like, and I just started screaming like,
Wow.
underground. And like everyone thought, like everyone around me knew kind of, okay, something's going on, but not in a bad sense. And yeah, they just kind of held space where I went through this huge uh like heart chakra just literally just bursting open. And after the waves of that slowed, I just burst into tears of just divine grace and beauty and surrender, and just like the tears streaming out of my eyes were like of the purest bliss. It was just like so wild. And I just sort of like hugged one or two people, but I was just sobbing, like sobbing,
Oh,
like like but in the most beautiful way. It was like it was a celebration. It wasn't like angry or painful or upset, and it was completely it was liberation. And that sort of energy slowly calmed down, and then we left. And I remember the guy that had let us down was like, "Is he okay? Is he okay?" Like they thought I was, really unwell or something. So that was intense. But yeah, it was just saying like to go off what you were speaking about, and we can talk about Cairo and those pyramids. But I don't know. I like I'm getting goosebumps now. I sort of definitely felt a much stronger connection to Karnak. And it was, I was kind of sensing trying to tune into what my energy body was doing around the pyramids of Egypt. And I'm like, I mean, yeah, I lay in the king's chamber sarcophagus, right, which was also ridiculous. Teleported to God knows where. It was just insane. And we blacked out all the lights, so everyone was chanting, like and the room was just like this giant reverberating echo chamber, and I'm inside this sarcophagus, pitch black, with the sound just reverberating through the whole chamber, and I'm just like, again, my Kundalini's activating, and I'm just sh like shooting through the universe, and it's just this voice saying, "Remember who you are." I was like, "Oh my God." This is such a ride. And then I just remember this hand reaching in and just helping me guide me out of there. And yeah, it was just nuts, insane. But, you know, I mean, like yourself, I feel like when we go to
Wow.
these places, because of who we are and our journey in this life, there's a lot of that remembering and recalling, like language that's spoken through those places energetically, you know what I mean? It's not, and like through the eyes, yes, but also through so many other different modalities, right? It's nuts.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating. You never actually, yeah, it's the first time I've heard you talk about your experience in the
Yeah.
King's Chamber and in the sarcophagus box.
Well, I've told very few souls, so
That's wild.
yeah, yeah, it's nuts. And again, I think like we were talking about just before the call, like there's no doubt that the activation obviously is we're really at the center point in that part of the world, right? What was considered to be at that in that age, in that era, to be the center of the world, and potentially even the universe. I mean, no authority on that particularly, but everything else kind of spanned out around that, right? Like all the ley lines, the connections directly to Glastonbury and
Yeah.
Stonehenge. That's even there's temples in the most random places. Like, well, you've got Indonesia, but you've got like, is it Bulgaria? And I mean even Australia, and it's just like it's all just perfectly aligned. It's pretty insane. And so I've found personally, whenever I've crossed over these lines, man, like huge activations going on. I mean, yeah, I've just been to Bali like weeks ago, and it was like another 45-minute long heart chakra explosion happened again. This more intense than I've ever, I mean, like took that one was in Egypt was like the warm up. This one I experienced recently in Bali, I actually didn't think I was going to survive it. I swear, I was just like on my back, like, like, wow, man. Um, yeah. So, it's just beautiful that I find, and correct me if I'm wrong, that we seem to be uh just naturally drawn to these places almost effortlessly. I mean, how many times you've been to Glastonbury and even Egypt, right? In that last 2 or so years that we've been in touch. And it's just so interesting to see how it all just kind of weaves and like, do you know what I mean? It's like effortless almost. But yeah, just interesting.
Super interesting. The synchronicities, the divine flow, the synchronization of paths.
Hmm.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, treading this path of sovereignty, of source connection, of divine union, right? The sacred union ultimately
mm,
within the self. And yeah, I feel like Egypt is a massive initiation, really, on so many levels, coming to this place. And just as like pilgrimage, it's like pilgrimage, just as Glastonbury, Bali,
yeah,
Guatemala,
yeah,
it's this sense of like I'm coming on a journey, I'm being initiated in the place, in this sacred space, the vortex, the portal,
mm,
and then the incredible meetings with remarkable humans or remarkable souls that happen, and that alchemy. We all have gifts for each other, keys for each other, codes for each other, and
mm,
and this is also what happens when we come together on a retreat or like an initiation, like a 7 day, 6, 7 day initiation. We're all coming together with those codes for each other, um, and we see how we're all one as well and part of this mystery together. The universe, the diversity in the inside the unity.
mm,
And yeah, treading this path in Egypt with yeah, being in Luxor right now, and you there here last year, it's like we're receiving codes, we're receiving downloads, getting activated. Our light bodies are being fed, activated, fueled, and there's such, yeah, like deep healing available in
mm,
these places, these key sacred sites,
mm,
portals, power spots, for reclamation as well as for who we really are, and for kind of healing the divides, healing the split, healing the fracture, recovering the divine feminine, recovering the divine masculine in ourselves, and embodying that higher kind of harmonic
mm,
consciousness of grace, unity, alignment. And it's such a, I feel like it's such a remedy, like a cure, a panacea for like the wounds, the ills, the toxicity, um, in the planet, on the planet, in our cultures, this kind of increasing alienation, isolation,
mm,
uh, the excesses, the extremes, the toxic masculinity, the unhealed parts of self, which are reflected in political figures, reflected in influencers who are
mm.
having interesting impact on young men, for
So interesting.
example.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
right. The influence of social media, of AI, where we've got the shift, the seismic shifts happening, where yeah, I mean, I can only imagine what it's like to be 20 years old in this 20 for 25 with like, that whole uh the whole way we interact and communicate is shifting, and
Mm,
socializing, um making friends. It's a whole different kind of vibe going on. I mean, I'm not in it, so I can't comment
mm,
specifically. But I can see it from my perspective as an observer. So that the pressure of social media, to appear to be in a certain way, right? Um,
Absolutely. And it's like, it's also like, how are you showing up, right? And how are you recognizing yourself, but also others? And I feel like there's a massive departure as well from what one's true self is and what, this largely, I'd say, egotistical version of like oneself that you ultimately end up projecting on to other people. And yeah, it's just we've gone so far astray from our true identities of what we are as, spirits living within the human body in this reality, essentially. And what concerns me even more is like these role models that, these younger people and people in general feel as though they should be following, like, rappers and all these mega movie stars and all the rest of it, are not exactly what I would now consider to be, the creme de la creme of society in terms of their yeah, their behavior, their morals, their integrity, all these things that I see in the divine masculine version of men, which is quite far away from the idea of what masculinity is being termed as today, I think, right? So it's gone quite far astray from what the true definition of what that is, and I feel like I mean, it's one of the core themes, if not the core theme of the Path of the Rose, right? Is embodying and being reinitiated into that path of the truest and highest version of oneself in the most divine sense. Um, and it's just been so corrupted, in my opinion, over the generations. And I think it's intentional. It's taking us away from our very, divine essence and our humanity, and you know, putting more importance on control and external validation and yeah, all kinds of lower vibrational stuff. So yeah, just a little
yeah,
digression, but yeah, I think you're on point. Yeah.
yeah, totally agree. Yeah. And then in the midst of that, isn't there a wonderful opportunity as well that all of this is fodder, fuel, grist for the mill, if you will, for transmutation and for stepping up
Absolutely.
into the path of, the divine self, the hero, the courageous leader who takes responsibility for self,
Mm,
ownership of
mm,
self, and decides to walk this path of love and
yes.
bravery and vulnerability
Yeah. And courage
and
as well. Yeah.
courage. Yeah.
You really nailed it there. And it's exactly it, right? It's just reclaiming all those things. They've never been forgotten,
To tell it
but
like it is, to
yeah.
be, yeah, reclaiming exactly, and honesty, deep, radical self-honesty, speaking truth, but with compassion,
Mm,
forgiveness, um, kindness, these
mm.
qualities, these values, respect for self, respect for others.
Integrity is a huge one for me. It's probably one of my top two, right? Uh, Without that, I genuinely feel that, the rest is at risk without good internal and external integrity. And that by that I simply mean that you do what you say, right? There's no split in that. The most authentic version of yourself, radically honest, like you said, and actually do the thing that you promise yourself more importantly than anyone else. And I've certainly noticed that in my own journey. I don't, I caught myself there. I do my utmost, I would say, to always follow through on what it is that I have promised myself to do first than, before I make any external commitment. Because if I can show up for myself every single day and execute on what I've determined to be the best version of myself, then that just paves the way, I feel, for everything external to just flow a lot easier in terms of love and kindness and this and that, right? It starts with yourself. And then only once that's taken care of can you then be the vessel to, yeah, emanate and, like, yeah, it's a very deep and interesting topic because it requires a lot of work. It's not something that is for everyone. And yeah, the truth, uh, a lot of people have a lot of trauma and so on that they've not even looked at. And basically, one of the ways to, as I've studied, get through to the path of like peace, inner peace. There is actually a set of stages, uh, which is based on ancient Vedic and Indian traditions and so on. But essentially, right word and right action are right at the top, and so it goes back to like you know functioning in the world in a way where you're not being unkind to people. You're doing small acts of kindness, of service, of love, of this and that. And only once you have reduced any pushback from the external world are you then able to go peacefully into the internal world and begin the work, so to speak, right? So, yeah.
Beautiful. I love that. I have a question for you.
Hmm.
Right word, right action, which I feel are key concepts, which, as you say, as you said, as you shared, it's being aligned with, like that thought, word, and deed are all one and in alignment. Um, which is great, easy to say, right? Very easy to talk
Hmm.
about. Like, yeah, alignment. Yeah, it's all about being a new age, spirituality. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
aligned,
Yeah.
channel it, whatever. But in practice, it's a whole
Yeah.
other story.
Hmm.
It
Hmm.
sounds good. It sounds great.
Oh, no, no, no. Oh, you're absolutely
And
right.
can we
You're
can we
absolutely
be
right.
it?
And it's also not what
Can
we're
we?
taught from a very young age, right? It's all, and there's also parts of the ego that fight against that for self-preservation, all these kinds of things, right? Like, uh, but, and by the way, it just occurred to me the book that I should be referring to here is this, which is the Upanishads.
Ooh,
So, I wasn't making this stuff up. It's written in the ancient texts. Um, yeah. So yeah, unfortunately, I mean, depending on the environment in which the person grows up in, uh, that can vary, but it can take quite a bit of deprogramming and deconditioning to be able to look objectively at one's actions, like in their day-to-day life, and ask themselves the question, like, how am I navigating my world,
Absolutely.
and with relationships and with myself, and how am I even speaking to myself, all these kinds of things. Um, oh, bad connection. Oh, he's dropped off. Sorry, guys, we're just gonna have to wait for Jody to get back. Um, yeah, so I could just talk a little bit about the Upanishads that I was referring to. I actually read this. Oh, he's coming back online. There we go. I actually read this like in I think January this year when I was in Antigua. Found a copy of it. And it's obviously not the whole thing. The whole thing is seven or even 11 volumes. I'm not quite sure, but this is just a concise, condensed version. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. There's a quote here by David Lynch at the top as well, talking about how this beautiful translation of the Upanishads by Katz and Egan's takes us full circle, conveying to our modern times the work's authentic message of transcendence and unity. So highly recommended. And yeah, I mean, there's a lot in there, but yeah, just not to digress too far. It's like yeah, it's just one of the stages of reaching that connection to source by first sort of, let's say, doing the housekeeping on the outside, right? Making sure that we're uh, carrying our business about in a way that's not offensive to anyone else and is actually in a kind manner and all the rest of it. And then, working inwards from that essentially. And the reason they suggest that is because without a quiet external environment, it's almost impossible for the mind to quiet enough for you to be able to get even close to the stages that you need to get to the meditation, right? So,
If you can, I just wanted to interject because I think the connection went a bit funny there.
yeah,
Um,
sure.
so I think I caught 80-90% of what you just said, but I wanted to ask, how do you feel about, and the Upanishads are amazing, and thanks for that resume summary, that right word, right action, integrity, that kind of vibe of that alignment, thought, word, and deed, uh, right relationship. How does, let's say, how does right word and right action relate to having right relationship with?
Oh, we lost you again. Maybe you can turn off your video once you come back. We'll just let me just send him a little chat. Mhm. I'm assuming Jody was asking the question of how does right relationship begin with oneself, but here he is again. So maybe we'll just keep your video off for now, Jody.
Okay,
Yeah, so apologies for the slight hitch, guys. So going back to what we were talking about with the right relationship, right action, all that, internally and externally, like I guess, yeah, it's great to have a way of operating externally that is less friction than causing any external issues, or whether it's family or just making sure that you're living in a world that's in harmony. um but yeah, I guess the question is, like, what does that look like internally? What's the relationship with yourself, if that's the case? And I think a lot of it starts with language. I think it's like one of the most important and overlooked, often very overlooked, things that people aren't aware of, is that inner self-critic, and how important even the words that they speak to themselves are. And that's actually leads me on to one other book. Just a second. Ah, it's like a book week all of a sudden. This one I'm reading at the moment, which is The Four Agreements. And one of the four agreements, I'm not ruining the ending or anything, guys. Don't worry. Is impeccable word, right? Be impeccable with your word. Now, when I read that, I thought, okay, I mean, easy enough to do if you're really conscious of what you're talking about. But when you read the chapter, he specifically says, and to yourself, more importantly. And I was like, wow, okay. Yeah. And it made me very, very aware all of a sudden of the internal dialogue that I was having with myself at every given moment. And if I'm being brutally honest, I still feel like I have a long way since reading that to fully integrate it, because we are always our own worst critic, right? And so I found it not impossible, and certainly easier over the years, to stop myself before saying something, that might be slightly critical or whatever, and just take a breath, think of a better way to say it with more compassion, and then externalize that. But we don't often put that filter on ourselves, right? We just kind of just raw. And so it takes a lot, even with someone like, with a lot of awareness at any given moment, to really be aware of that, right? And it's like we did some coaching. You were an amazing coach of mine in the past, and
But
taught me a lot about what is it that I'm telling myself? What are the self-limiting beliefs, like, um, you know, why do I think of myself only capable of doing X, Y, and Z? Why not be able to do that? And it's just so many things that we've conditioned ourselves into thinking that we're good and not good enough, not capable enough, you know, um, not strong enough, not brave enough, not courageous enough, not, you know what I mean? And yeah, I mean, it's huge. So I would say, going back to what we're talking about, right relationship, that internal dialogue is like one of the key pillars of beginning to heal that, in my own experience.
yeah, beautifully put. I would absolutely agree. Revealing the internal conversation that's going on, exposing it can be life-changing.
Mm.
Especially the first time we do it, because I mean, I remember it myself, the actual moment I was doing, I was doing an online seminar. It was actually like a tele seminar back in the day, right? Where you used to be like on calls. It would be on like a call, and we're 2025 now, so it was about 2008, 2009, 2009, 2010. Let's say 2010. So 15 years ago, and they were talking about self-talk,
Mm.
and I had like a a course program, like course material that I was reading through, and it had the title Self-Talk, right? And we were going through it on this call, and I was looking at it, and I was like, I don't know about this self-talk. I don't know. And then they were giving some examples, to actually make it relatable.
Yeah.
And suddenly there was one thing that the leader, the trainer said, and it was just like it was something like I'm stupid or something like that. This is
Mm.
stupid. I'm stupid. And it was exactly mirroring what was going on, like what I was saying to myself. And I caught it and I was just like, oh my goodness, I realized this is going on all the time.
Mm.
And I just dipped down deep enough. I dug down deep enough to suddenly find it, this toxic stream of
Mm.
negative thoughts and conversation going on in my subconscious. And it was just like, whoa, oh my goodness, wow. I was so grateful. I was in such deep appreciation that I was suddenly able to see it. And then, of course, when we bring awareness to it and when we're able to see it,
Mm.
then it no longer has control. That light of awareness helps us helps us because we're like, okay, that's not real. That's
Mm.
the story I'm telling myself, but actually it's not sensible, it's not kind. It's like this horrible monster inside that's calling the
Yeah.
shots.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's causing me suffering and misery, and no wonder I'm making bad choices if I'm
Mm.
believing this
Yeah.
internal voice. So that was a huge revelation for me. And it's so healing just to even talk about it now and just remember that and also think, okay, what's going on right now? You know, and for
Mm.
anyone who's watching or listening, it's a real, really beautiful, powerful invitation for us all to look, okay, what negative self-talk is going on in my reality right now and in any moment, in any now moment, and just to challenge it, see it and challenge it, but be brave enough and courageous enough to look and see what's there below the surface, below that I'm fine, yeah, everything's
Mm.
great, right? See what's
Oh,
going
so
on.
interesting. So interesting. Yeah, absolutely. And one of the relating back to what you were saying, and also what I was referring to in January last year with before I read the Upanishads, there was another book that I read. I had about a week and a half, so I had plenty of time to sort of chill and do audiobooks. And there was I can't remember the name of it. But anyway, the invitation with this book was to uh, be first of all aware, and I'll look it up and I'll maybe put a link or something at the bottom of the voice that's in your head. So the first step in this book is just, capturing it, being aware of it, and then slowly, chapter by chapter, the author's kind of like guiding you into a place where you're able to watch the person that you would consider yourself as more like a flatmate that's getting free rent inside your head. And as you sort of detach yourself, your true self, from that voice, and you can see this other person in this rented room within your house, so to speak, and you listen to them, the amount of absurd crap that they talk. I mean, you're just like looking at them now objectively and fully detached, going, oh my God. Wow. Yeah. And like you said, it's just this like this new perspective of awareness is just astonishing once you've actually managed to do that, right? It's massive. And then he goes even further, and this just I mean, it blew my mind so much that I ended up right. I remember I recorded that video that I just spontaneously posted, like the first one I've ever posted on YouTube the same day because I had such a revelation and it was related to this. And so in the exercise, he asked that you continue to walk down the street or wherever, or take in the world around you, but see if you can completely shut off this voice in your head and observe the world around you without any words. Because even if you're looking at something, you're like, that's a door, that's a monitor, that's a wall, that's a rose, that's a this, it's a that. And he said, trust me, there is a way you can do it where you can still manage to walk and observe or do what you want and no word, no voice. I thought, oh, come on, this is impossible. And so I went for a walk through Antigua and it was sunset. And I somehow, during that walk on the way to go somewhere, managed to completely shut the noise off. And the 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 stillness that I had in that moment was like I have no words to describe. The feeling that I felt of inner peace. And he was right. Like all my senses still worked. I was still observing the world and being able to function within it. But there was no longer this bloody voice inside my head, just having to describe everything, judge everything, think about everything, have an opinion about, like, even if it's like, oh, wait, a car's coming now, just stop. There was no voice. And I mean, it might have only lasted like 30 seconds, but let me tell you, man, like you, when I had that experience, like a real experience of that, it's one thing to talk about it, but to experience it is just like, oh my God, wow. Uh it was life changing, quite honestly. It was life changing. Yeah.
Beautiful. And yeah, this is it. It's like, can we build that constant awareness around it, right? Which is
Mm.
what, when we commit to meditation, a practice, training, hopefully that's moving us in that direction towards becoming a witness to it rather than being involved and lost in it.
Yes.
And this is also brings up the question or the theme around peak experiences. And
Mm.
so, for example, that experience you had in the Holy of Holies or the temple in Luxor in Karnak, and
Yeah,
that's like I would say describe that as a peak experience.
totally.
Um, and beautiful, and we were in an Isis temple, a small little Ptolemaic Isis temple a couple of days ago, which is very beautiful, very quiet. There was no tourists, just us.
Mm.
And briefly, a moment, we didn't have much time, but we were meditating in there, and I had my own little peak experience. My crown chakra opened. I had like an image of Isis come, and it was whoa. And so
Mm.
did my partner, and
Mm.
she had her own experience. And so then, we have these peak experiences, and then how do they relate to like the daily life aspect
Mm.
of living, of managing everything,
Mm.
routines, money, relationship, everything else, right? That we're kind of having to deal with on a daily basis. I think that's a question in itself, right? And that's also another thing of like when we go on a retreat and we have like a peak experience
Yeah.
or in a ceremony, and then integrating that into the rest of our lives, because if we can't integrate it,
Yeah. Yeah.
it very much lessens its value
Oh,
because
absolutely. Oh, integration is just so key. Thank you, man. Thank you very much for bringing that up. Oh, yeah. Integration. It's all about integration. Even the heart chakra thing that I talked to you about that I had in Bali, just as an example, right? Like, I mean, the wildest experience, physically, spiritually, emotionally, like it was just ridiculous. Um, took up a lot of space, right? Just, physically writhing around, energetically, vocally, I mean, I was, like experiencing God and source all through my body at that point, like, and a very dear soul coming around, helping me, spraying me with agua pura, from the south of France and all this beautiful stuff, holding space, magic, right? But little did I know that the integration of that experience was actually going to take me around 10 to 11 days, right? Because no one had told me, of course, there's no textbook really, like, and the way I knew that that integration had actually fully arrived and completed was this immense sense of like spaciousness and glow and expansion that just radiated like from my chest, just lying in bed one evening and then the next morning when I went out walking and I was just like, whoa, wow. Like I thought I was genuinely high. Like I was like, wow, what the fuck is going on? And I'm just like, this is, I feel like I've just, you know, had someone put some Mandy in my coffee or something. I'm just like wildly just like, wow. And, I'm not saying that that was like, it was more to do with the fact that the integration, like, right, it can be quite subtle until until it gets to the point where you realize, okay, and it's not always like you've got an arrival date. But what I've experienced in my own journey is it's like it's layered, it's multi-layered and multi-layered. And it's like the more you integrate all these things, it just changes you over time. It starts to weed out certain aspects of yourself that no longer serve you. It might infuse itself in a cellular way. It might like there's infinite numbers of ways that it can integrate, but I think we have to let go of just the idea of it integrating, like as an academic intellectual sense, because a lot of the time this integration, as I've just explained, is subconscious. It's not even
Mm.
consciously. It's not something you can always be consciously aware of. But often you will notice the shift, and sometimes it can take years. Like so. Yeah, but like, thank you for bringing that up. And I think that's another reason why it's so important to have containers after things like retreats, or therapy, or medicine, or even sound healing. I mean, breath work, like a space where you can allow that whatever energy has moved to integrate. And something I'm planning on is to build more spaces that also separately facilitate that on its own, just integration. So yeah, no, it's super important. I thank you for bringing that up. Would love to hear your thoughts on it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I'm very present with in my own life. How do I integrate this? Um, one wonderful way that I've found is writing,
Yeah.
journaling, writing about it. You know, I was able to process and integrate to a large extent some of my peak experiences, mystical adventures that I had in Glastonbury, which is, of course, this portal, mother portal, heart chakra of the world, whatever you want to describe it as, and
Mm,
Avalon. So that's we're really talking about is Avalon, which is also a
mm,
realm that we can actually all connect with, I believe, at any moment if we wish to. From that, and that was part of the revelation that's in my book. So through writing that book, I was able to integrate, and that's a gift that keeps on giving as well, because
mm,
I receive the integration every time that I talk about the book or someone talks about the book, or
Mm.
it's like, wow, yeah, there's something that like there's something material, practical, physical, and finite about it
Mm.
that is paradoxical in a way, because the experiences, the insights were so not physical, but somehow
Mm.
committing spirit, thought to word and something actually physical had a like a 10x kind of effect, or maybe that's not the right or the best way to describe it, but like a bonus effect that I'm still
Mm.
receiving, you know. And so
Mm.
that's one way. Journaling is another way. Creating,
Totally vouch for that, by the way. Yeah, huge amount of writing that I've done in my journey. It's been, I mean, very key. So yeah, thanks again for bringing that up.
could be making it something into music, writing a song. It could be poetry. It could be um, making something with your hands from the experience,
Or dance, even
painting
movement.
it, etc. Right? These are all ways that I found can be integrating, and something we can kind of perceive the thing that we created that was inspired by the experience, the insight, the revelation, the peak experience.
Mm.
So, for example, I don't know, like if you were to your heart activation, that might be one way, or could have been one way, or might be one way that would help integration of that experience, for example.
What?
And
I
then,
missed, you broke up.
you
Yeah,
know,
you broke, you broke up. What were you
sorry,
just saying?
uh, sorry, not sorry. I can't help it. The internet, yeah. Um, sure. Of your peak experience that you had in the
Yeah.
chamber in Karnak, that could be a helpful tool to encourage integration, or to catalyze integration, to integrate that experience. For example,
Mm.
I'm just, giving an example, journaling it, whatever else it could be a way. And then I think also very much the key is making changes
Mm.
from the insight, from the new perception, the new perspective that I have, making changes in my life, right?
Mm.
So getting the download, getting the
Mm.
insight, yeah, and then making
Yeah.
changes based on this new perception, this upgraded reality, to then to ground it in,
Mm.
to anchor it in. I don't make changes and I go back to old ways of,
Oh.
for example, if I'm continue with the same, let's say, negative self-talk, or not
Yeah.
challenging my self-talk, or whatever it could be, smoking when I had the epiphany
Yeah.
to give up because of this reason and this reason, but I continue smoking, or I go back to it a week later. Obviously there wasn't enough integration there, so then I continue. So it's like doubling down and also being brave again, because then it comes back to the kind of
Mm.
courageousness to really look at what's been brought up, what I've been shown, and perhaps we need to do a bit more inner work, a bit more digging, to look at the underlying belief that's being triggered or being presented to us. Perhaps it's a relationship
Mm.
with our parents, for example.
Mm.
Just,
Mm.
for example, I mean, not actually you know, wouldn't possibly be
Mm-hmm.
something like that. But or could it be? So, but just to kind of really key in that, maybe journal around that wound or that belief, and then look what's underneath it, get courageous, get curious, and then, okay, how can I then shift this? What needs to happen, right? What action needs to happen, right? Because we
Mm-hmm.
go from, you know, awareness, then we need at some point to take an action that corrects what imbalance has been um, revealed by the new awareness, the new perception, the new perspective from the peak experience, for example. So then literally, like, okay, I need to speak to that person. I need to talk to that person. I need to send this email. I need to write this book. I need to create this retreat. I need to go to bed earlier. I need to get up earlier. I need to self-care more. I need to get a massage. I need to take a hot bath. I need to breathe. I need to meditate. Okay, I need to go from 10 minutes a day to half an hour a day of meditation. I need to do half an hour in the morning. I need to do half an hour before I go to sleep. Right. Okay. These kinds of
Mm-hmm.
things, right? That actually then, like, I need to eat better. I need to drink more water. I need to salt my water. I need to get in, get doing yoga, etc., etc., etc. I
The
need to
list
eat.
goes
I need to
on.
get.
Yeah.
I need to get a dealer. I need to, right. Blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. Need to save money. I need to spend on myself. I need to whatever it is, right? Like,
Mm, absolutely. As you were saying all those things, I also remembered once again another book, which is the sole reason I got this tattoo, which is the Tibetan symbol of presence, by Eckhart Tolle, who I'm sure you're familiar with The Power of Now. And I had to reread that book. I read it again earlier this year, second time, and he talks about how first of all, before we can change anything externally, the number one thing is, of course, to be at peace with it, right? Coming at it from a place of acceptance, radical acceptance of whatever that situation might be, before one is truly in a place to be able to surrender to that and then make whatever changes they need externally to rectify it, right? But he suggests, and I agree with, before changing that, first make peace with it, right? And that might be, some compassion for yourself, maybe compassion for others, maybe a relationship has reached its natural end and there's been a lot of resistance and so on, but you've tried so hard to make it work, and ultimately you've just gone, look, it's not going to work. So before you actually go out there and make the change, often, the path to least resistance is to first accept wholly and in full surrender to whatever that looks like before you go and make the change. And so, in my experience, without even having read that or whatever, I, can speak from experience of like, for example, I've done plenty of medicine ceremonies in the past, particularly ayahuasca and Danaboga and so on as well. But I mean, the most sacred medicines is such beautiful teachers, and I thank them endlessly. But in every single case that I've come out of one of those ceremonies and had time to integrate, I have made nothing less than radical changes in my life, and very often sudden as well, because they have revealed certain things to me that need to be changed fundamentally and aren't allowing me to move in a direction where it's like the best version of myself really wants to go. Um, yeah, so yeah, and every single time it's been like a 90-degree turn in my life. Like I've just gone on a whole different trajectory when I was already heading in a certain, and it's like you said, it's like the medicine in that example, but it could be a book, it could be the Upanishads, it could be the power, whatever it is that reveals uh through whatever modality, like, holy shit, I need to change this. This doesn't work for me. And this is like, you know, yeah, like the integration, as you said, and just to add to what you were saying, is to make the change, right? To like not, to walk the walk, not just to talk the talk. And so I've, yeah, quite often found the people that are the most integrated are the ones that have gone and made whatever changes they need to make, like just weave their way through navigated their way through all the obstacles and whatever it is, to arrive at peace, really. And like that's where the real integration happens. Um, yeah, it's a huge part of it.
Yeah. And what you said about the kind of the radical acceptance of the thing, um, is huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge because if we're not in acceptance, we're in resistance. And if we're in resistance, well, it's a place of
Yeah,
suffering.
yeah.
So it's not going to be good. It's not going to be fun. It's no fun. Suffering is no fun, as we know. So this, whatever it is, classic example, how my parents, brought me up, how they fucked me up, excuse my French, right?
Mm,
Radically accepting that this is what happened, and I accept that this is what happened.
hmm
However wrong it is and was, I accept that that is what happened, and I accept them that
mm,
they did that, and they did probably the best that they could do in desperate circumstances because they were wounded children
mm,
just with more years than me, and they were acting from their wounds and their trauma and their programming and conditioning, and this is life. And can I forgive them? Doesn't mean they did right,
mm,
just they weren't embodying love in the when they were mean to me, whatever, right? But perhaps I got what I needed, not what I wanted, because my soul chose them and
mm,
chose this curriculum. And so that's another kind of level to it all. And perhaps it was exactly what I needed. And if it, whatever we believe about that, we still have to accept at some level to have peace. We have to accept
mm,
and forgive them, ultimately, let them go, release them. With the releasing them, we let go of resisting. With the letting go of resisting, we let go of the suffering
mm,
we're held in by holding energy against them,
mm,
resentment,
mm,
etc. You did this
mm.
to me. We still, because we're staying in that victim place.
Victim mentality, yeah.
And ain't nobody got time for victimhood, right?
Mm.
Because with victimhood, there's no real genuine flow and
There's no
depth of
peace there.
love
No, there's
and
no
expansion.
solution.
It's a
Yeah.
contraction. Victimhood is a contraction. You did this to me. You're bad.
Mm,
You're evil. You're a big meanie. Now, it's not to say not to have boundaries.
mm,
I'm not talking about having boundaries. Just saying this happened in the past. You can't change it. It's happened. It happened, and
mm,
I have to. What is my relationship with that? Am I holding? They wronged me. I'm so wronged. Or am I letting it go and letting love,
mm,
acceptance, total acceptance, radical acceptance, forgiveness, Doesn't mean that next time I see my parents, let's say, if we've got problematic parents,
Yeah.
I'm just going to let them walk all over you. No, it's not about that. Because in the radical, I believe, in the radical acceptance of who they are and what trauma they're carrying and the wounds that they're living still, for example, if your parents are
Mm,
still alive, we actually are in a place when we're more wise. And then therefore, if we're more wise, then we can more satisfactorily um, state our boundaries and be
mm,
clear about what's real and what's not real, and etc., etc., etc. So that's one aspect of it. So I thought I'd just
mm,
share that because it's something I'm always working with, in myself and then also with friends and clients and everything else. So
mm,
yeah, so very wonderful reflection there about acceptance.
mm. Yeah, and beautiful. The only one thing I would add to that is exactly what you said, but also using the phrase full surrender to what is with a capital I, and that's what Eckhart talks about. Whatever is. And he has this saying, which I think I memorized, which is whatever is, because if it wasn't, it wouldn't be, but it is. So, yeah, if it wasn't, it wouldn't be, but it is, right? And it is. So it is what it is. You have no choice. As he even says in the book, and they say in Star Trek, resistance is futile. And it's true. Like, it is absolutely true. There is no point in resisting what is in every given moment because it's the truth, right? So it's being able to accept whatever that looks like. And, people mistake as well, and I used to as well, with forgiveness, like just to quickly, not digress too much more, but quite often people think that with forgiveness, it involves forgiving the person, for what it is that they actually did to them and their actions behind that, right? And that's not true, right? You can forgive someone, but not forgive what they did to you. And there is a difference. There is a huge difference. So that's where I found the power to be. It's like, okay, look, I can forgive you. I don't have to be okay with whatever you did. That's totally separate, but I can forgive you, right? Yeah, so very powerful there. So, and again, what else can you do if you really, if you really want to go beyond is just accept. And it's not easy, sometimes depending on the situation, it can be extremely difficult. But on the other side of that is peace and the ability to change anything, really. So, yeah.
This is it, beautiful. And I wanted to give it like an example would be like, if Peter robs Paul, right? Paul, by forgiving Peter for robbing him, isn't necessarily, it doesn't mean that it's meaning it's right to rob.
Mm, mm,
Like Peter, sorry, if Paul, who's the person who's been robbed, forgives Peter, he's not necessarily forgiving robbing like as an
the
act.
act. Yeah.
Oh, well then it's
Yeah.
okay, because otherwise it's like it's okay to rob. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. That's just no. Ain't nobody got time for that. It's, that's
Mm,
boundaries, that's ridiculous. You can't have a society where people are just robbing each other
mm,
all the time.
mm, mm.
It just doesn't work. It's just
Yeah.
conflict. So we can forgive like parents, for example. You can forgive your parents, but it doesn't mean if your parents beat you, for example,
Mm,
that beating is fine and it's okay to beat people or children, right?
mm.
It's not, we're not talking about that.
Yeah.
With right, there are laws against it, and so there should be. right? I believe.
Mm,
But it's the act of forgiving the person and releasing that resentment against them,
exactly.
not condoning the activity or the behavior, right?
Yeah,
So
totally.
that's a real key point, which you wonderfully detailed.
Beautiful and great examples as well. Cool. So I think we've covered a lot today. Amazing chat as usual.
Yeah.
So if anyone's listened to this and they're interested in working with these topics and advancing along their journey with some of the themes that we've talked about today, then come and join us in Guatemala. We'll be there in February, and yeah, we'll be looking to host an incredible workshop, which is the Path of the Rose, and it's the embodiment of the sacred masculine and feminine, and the sacred union, of course. And yeah, it's going to be an amazing opportunity there. Uh, Perfect place for integration as well. And yeah. Jody, if you want to spice things up a little bit more or have any final thoughts, go for it.
Sure. In terms of the initiation, the training in Guatemala, I feel like if you're watching this and you listen to this and you feel resonance, I think at some point in terms of within your own awareness, you know whether it's something that is right for you. It's just like an inner knowing. It's not a mind thing. We're not approaching this from the mind perspective. And I think it's really important to honor that. And it may be clear, oh, this isn't for me. You may be looking at your calendar and going, no, February, I'm here doing that, and that's fine. And that also might be from a mind perspective as well. And so what the encouragement is to really connect in with your heart and your soul and to be true to self
Mm,
in that depth of remembrance because we're in this Western culture and it's very much like schedules and calendar and filling in our calendars and work and business and life and everything else and it's everything else. But actually, time is not linear, and we know that from the great wisdom traditions. We know that actually time is a perceptual construct. So this is very interesting. So if you decide, that you are worth it and that miracles are possible and that you want to create more miracles in your life, then the path of the rose is something that might be resonating with you, particularly now, for whatever reason, 2025 going into 2026 and all the massive seismic changes that are happening on the planet. And yeah, it's an exciting opportunity. So if you feel that in your essence, then I would say, yeah, rise to the occasion, and we will welcome you to this sacred space, this container.
yes,
You'd be more than
certainly.
welcome.
And we'll be giving a few more details with the program and so on the next time we all meet. So thank you for your patience, and it's been a real honor as always. Love hearing from you in Luxor, Jody. This has been pretty epic. So yeah, we'll see where the next one is. I didn't get one done in Bali, but as you could hear, there was certainly a lot going on for me. So
Sure,
I
sure,
just
sure, sure.
allowed myself to just flow, and there wasn't quite the right time. So glad that we did find the time for it a week or so after. So terrific, great.
Right timing. Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, blessings, everyone, and see you on the next one. And check out the description for links and details and everything else. Okay.
All
Bye.
right, much love. I'll see you soon, guys. Ciao.